We're here, of course, to commemorate the bicentennial of the Gallatin Plan. It was a visionary effort of Thomas Jefferson's Treasury Secretary. He knew that we could design and engineer and build a bridge to the 19th century. And it really was a mainspring of historic expansion, and it recognized that public resources, not just private capital, were essential for constructing the new nation. In his words, he said the task was too great to be left to individual exertion. But today, we have to build on the same fundamental recognition, but with a key revision. As we heard this morning, the challenge is so immense that we can't do it alone. We can't think about investment and financing as an either-or proposition. It isn't a false choice between private capital and public funds. We need new partnerships, new ideas, new sources of revenue, and it requires us to chart a very different way forward. It takes the collaborative and unrelenting efforts of elected officials, of business and civic leaders, and of advocates for reform, many of whom are in this room. And foundations, we think, also have a central role to play in facilitating this 21st century bargain, drawing together the public and private and nonprofit sectors, connecting people and organizations with very diverse perspectives and engaging them, as is happening here, in collaborative alliances, supporting the development of research that leads to the best policy options and new kinds of products and services and better research data to help inform and influence public discourse, encouraging and cultivating innovation, ideas that change the way we understand problems and the way we solve problems. The point is that foundations are privileged because they can dare to be bold. They can dare and have the resources to take risks, to think, and to urge others to think a quarter of a century down the road, not just about quarterly earnings or about next year's election. But we are absolutely most useful when we can galvanize and leverage the action and resources of others to meet so many of these difficult challenges. And frankly, the challenges of this new century are difficult indeed. A National Pew Research Center survey released maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago indicated that fewer Americans now than at any point in the past century believe they're moving forward in life. A recent CBS News poll said that 81% of Americans believe the country is on the wrong track. These metrics capture and convey a sense of great unease, a sense of frustration and fear, a collective anxiety among Americans, and clearly much of this is a response to a war without end and heightened awareness of terrorism and certainly a looming recession. But some of it reflects, and the data support this, a growing uncertainty about an infrastructure network that is overburdened and obsolete. We've responded as Americans to critical issues like this before. More than a half a century ago, President Eisenhower signed legislation to establish the United States interstate highway system, and it was called the Interstate and Highway Defense System, which is extraordinary as we think about what the role of highways was perceived to be at the beginning. In his words, vast systems of interconnected highways would be crisscrossing the nation, and they were essential to national security, to economic growth, and to public safety. It was among the boldest and most daring ideas of its time, and it was clearly the blueprint for the infrastructure that has really enabled unrivaled economic prosperity and opportunity over the last half century. The interstate highway system moved the products of industry to market. It connected millions of people to well-paying jobs and affordable homes. And it absolutely affirmed Americans' belief that a better future was only and always just down the road. And yet, planning has become paving. The same interstate system has now triggered a host of unanticipated consequences. It has entrenched our reliance on an oil economy that we cannot possibly sustain. It produced, over the long haul, harmful consequences for our communities, our environment, and for social mobility. We spend more time in cars, less time with our families, we drive longer distances between home and work, and we flood our atmosphere with greenhouse gases. The same systems that supported tremendous growth and economic opportunity for past generations now are really serving to undermine them. So today, we have to dare to think and act boldly, but in a different way, because clearly this is a very different time. The demography of our national community is changing. We are seeing once again accelerating unplanned urbanization, and it is creating new risks along with new opportunities. Second, the economic security of our workforce is deteriorating as markets globalize. We talked about that a bit this morning. And third, our over-reliance on automobiles is clearly worsening greenhouse gases. Transportation infrastructure policy is intertwined with all of these critical issues. As with the Gallatin Plan in 1908 and the Roosevelt Plan in 1808 and the Roosevelt Plan in 1908 and the Interstate Highway Plan in the 1950s, progress really does always start with daring ideas. I believe firmly that we can lead the global economy of the 21st century, that we haven't yet lost that opportunity, just as we led the industrial and manufacturing economies of the 20th centuries. But we have to be intelligent and innovative and socially conscious, and we have to do it in a way that harnesses the forces of transportation and transformation that benefit more people more equally in more places. We can manage sustainable patterns of growth. We can build 21st century infrastructure and create jobs in the process. We really can mitigate the climate change we're causing and develop clean and renewable and sustainable energy supplies. We can build stronger resilience so that people aren't left vulnerable to the wrath of a world that we know will continue warming, no matter how many Hummers we trade in for Priuses. And so we must do so in a way of expanding economic opportunity as well. I want to thank all of you for your commitment to partnering, for your commitment to framing new ideas and raising awareness and forging a coalition that really can get the job done. I think together we must and we will build a better road forward for America. Thank you very, very much.